Welcome to No Place Like Home, the radio show, coming to you on WRXB 1590 AM and Pinellas County Connection TV. This program is presented to you as an opportunity to hear information that can help you fulfill the dream of owning your very own home. We also share information about upcoming special events and programs to help you enjoy the good life in Pinellas County, as well as other items of interest. The sponsor of this program is the Housing Finance Authority of Pinellas County, which offers the First-Time Homebuyers Program. I'm Carmen Lemberg, alongside Jane Merlin, your host for today's show. Happy New Year, Jane. How are you doing?
Happy New Year. Can you believe we've made it through another holiday season?
It went so fast. I'm sure next year will be here before I know it.
I keep wondering what happened in July.
I know.
Wasn't it just July?
It was, I swear.
And here we are in January. We've got a really interesting show coming up today. We've got a couple of great guests. They've been in the housing industry for a good number of years, and we're going to be talking about what affordable housing means.
You know, this is a subject that is near and dear to my heart, and it means a lot to me, and I'm looking very forward to having both of our guests give us their thoughts and their views and hopefully do a little bit of education for the people in the community.
Absolutely. But before we do that, I know that you want to share a message from your Housing Finance Authority.
I do. Thank you so much. The Housing Finance Authority of Pinellas County is offering the First-Time Homebuyers Program, your key to home ownership, helping people in Pinellas, Pasco, and Polk counties make the dreams of home ownership a reality. The First-Time Homebuyers Program is for individuals who have never owned a home, have not owned a home in the past 3 years, or veterans. The HFA offers a low rate on its 30-year fixed-rate mortgage, and if you need a little help with down payment and closing costs, we can help you with that too. To get your key to home ownership, visit www.pinellascounty.org/HFA as in Housing Finance Authority. Look at the pictures on the right-hand side of the page and it'll walk you right through our program. For more information or comments about the show, call us at 727-223-6419 or email newhome@pinellashfa.com. Jane?
Thank you, Carmen. I know that you all had a holiday promotion back in 2015. That's really hard to think about now that it's 2016. But you actually helped a good number of people get into a new home for the holidays.
We did, and as a matter of fact, it ends here on the 12th. That's our final closing date, and then I'll have the numbers for you next month as to how many people we helped and who our winners were. We really had a great time. So far, it's really going well. Our final numbers are looking like it's going to beat our numbers for last year, so I'm really excited.
Wonderful. Glad so many people were able to get into new housing. And speaking of housing, let's get right into the topic that we are here today to discuss, and that is looking at all kinds of housing. Affordable housing, workforce housing is another term that's used. I'm delighted to be able to introduce both of our guests today. Deborah Johnson has served as the Executive Director of the Pinellas County Housing Authority since 2009. She's responsible for the operation and administration of affordable housing units for more than 5,500 extremely low to moderate income families and about 8,500 individuals in Pinellas County. She has over 30 years' experience in the public and assisted housing industry, and many projects have received national recognition. She's an advocate for programs and services to help families break the cycle of dependency to achieve economic self-sufficiency and is active with numerous organizations, including the Florida Housing Association and redevelopment officials, Bright Community Trust, Career Source Pinellas, and Leadership Tampa Bay. She earned a bachelor's degree from the University of Maryland, College Park, with major coursework in mass communications. Brian Evian is the Florida Director of Affordable Housing Development for North Star Development USA and is responsible for managing all aspects of developing affordable housing in partnership with public housing authorities and other partners throughout Florida, Alabama, and other southeastern states. Brian brings finance, real estate, land development, and construction experience to create a unique combination of market rate and affordable housing development for both for-profit and nonprofit organizations. He's developed multiple commercial and multifamily real estate projects in and around the Tampa Bay area and has also managed land disposition efforts in the southeastern U.S. He earned his Bachelor of Business Administration in Finance from the University of Georgia and a Juris Doctorate from Stetson University College of Law. Welcome to No Place Like Home, Deborah, Brian.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
It's wonderful to have you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's so good to have you both here. And we do have a lot to talk about today. But, Deborah, I wanted to have you kind of start us off and talk about a couple of the communities that the Pinellas County Housing Authority is responsible for either developing or managing.
Okay, great. Most recently, we actually developed with North Star our Pinellas Heights Senior Apartments. That's 153 apartments for seniors with incomes at or below 60% of the area median income. And then following that, we actually did a gut rehab redevelopment of the old French Villas public housing community. That's in unincorporated county with a St. Petersburg address. And the new development, completely brand new, is called Landings at Cross Bayou. And we were really happy to work with North Star in doing this. We did it with 9% tax credits, competitive tax credits, and preserved 184 units, of housing for low-income families.
So not only creating new communities from scratch, but you also do renovations.
Yes. We're always renovating something. We own and manage over 1,700 units here in Pinellas County, so we always have something that is a modernization project going on or rehab project going on.
And I have seen photographs of some of the communities that you referenced, and they are absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. We also did another preservation with Norton Apartments. It's now called Norton Apartments at Lake Bellevue, 48 units for low-income families, and that's in the city of Clearwater, and that was a complete renovation with the HFA and the county's help as well, and the city of Clearwater.
It takes many partners to put these together, doesn't it?
It does. When they say it takes a village, it really does.
Well, and I know that you probably are working on some new projects now. Can you share some of the upcoming programs that you're working on?
Sure. Again, in partnership with North Star, we're working diligently to do a new workforce housing community called Palms of Pinellas. And that will be, I believe, 93 units in unincorporated county. And it will provide housing to families with incomes up to 150% of the area median income. 20% of those units will be set aside for working families with incomes at or below 60% of the area median income.
So it's actually mixed incomes that would be living in
That's
these
correct.
communities.
That's correct.
Gosh, that's what I love to hear. I love that mixed income. Brian, I know you work throughout the southern states. What are some of the communities that we might recognize that you've been involved with?
Well, and thank you again, Jane and Carmen, for having both of us today. It's my pleasure to be here with one of our most important partners,
Thank you.
Debbie Johnson. Obviously, you recognize the projects here in Pinellas County because they're close and they're recognizable. But as I think Jane mentioned, we work primarily with public housing authorities. And some of the partners we've worked with throughout the state of Florida are the Fort Myers Housing Authority. We're just finishing the fourth phase of some affordable housing we've built down there called the Renaissance Preserve. We work with the Punta Gorda Housing Authority. We completed one of our first projects in Florida with them several years ago and are now building a two-phase development called the Verandas down there. It's senior housing, kind of like the Pinellas Heights project. We have also worked in Venice with the housing authority there and in Lake Wales and several other communities. But we will be starting a new phase of development in Lake Wales, breaking ground on a new development in Punta Gorda, and then other agencies that we are partnered with and have some upcoming projects that we're putting together now are in Bradenton and Tarpon Springs and Fort Pierce as well.
Oh, so Tarpon Springs here in Pinellas. Anything else here in Pinellas too?
Well, we've got another senior development that we're looking at right now in the Ridgecrest area. It's a project called Heritage Oaks, and actually we're partnering as we speak on the funding applications, hoping to finish those up early next week.
Awesome.
If we can. So Debbie and her team and the planning department with Pinellas County, they've all been very helpful.
Well, you know, one of the things that we wanted to talk about today in particular was the fact that there are so many definitions of affordable housing. You know, what does that mean when we say affordable housing? And so I'm going to look at both of you as housing professionals to maybe help answer that question. What does that mean when we say affordable housing?
It's really going to be different for everybody based on their income, because the national consensus is that if a family pays 30% of their income for housing, that's considered affordable. But in many cases, with rents on the rise, most people are not in affordable housing right now.
And Brian, I know that you also mentioned before we started the show today that there's an alarming statistic about the number of people that are paying well above 30% for housing.
That's right, Jane. The statistic is that over 12 million Americans are now paying 50% or more for their housing, which obviously 50% of their income, which takes that income away from things like food and clothing and other necessities. So when we look at affordable housing, it's important to look at the need because it's critical, and this is a significant issue. So when we talk about affordable housing or workforce housing, it's important to point out that we're talking about residents who are paying rent. They just are not able to keep the rent at that 30% level that's so important. And that's where the subsidy comes in that makes it come down to an affordable level for those families or those seniors that we're talking about. So it's a critical need that's being addressed by this housing.
It is. It really is. You know, as you've gone to public meetings about your projects and stuff, we've all heard and seen at these public meetings such a negative connotation when these communities are being considered, and we've all heard that term, NIMBYism.
Mm-hmm.
How do we educate residents in our community about what we're trying to achieve with workforce housing, affordable housing?
Well, my own personal opinion is that the old adage, actions speak louder than words. When we create an affordable housing community, we need to do the appropriate screening of residents, and we need to do good management of the community. And when people see that and they see affordable communities managed very well, and they become proud to live near that or drive by that because it looks so good, then that's a way of educating without actually going on TV or putting out brochures, etc. But we do need to change the mindset because there's a complete misunderstanding about affordable housing in our community, and some people believe that it lowers property values or that it will bring crime into their neighborhood, and those are misconceptions. If it's properly built, maintained, managed, no one will know it's affordable housing unless you tell them.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of that NIMBYism can be driven by fear too, fear of the unknown, and the way to overcome that fear is really by building trust.
Yes.
And I think that's, Debbie, what you're talking about with the performance.
Absolutely.
And so if we can educate residents by pointing out other developments in the area that we as partners have worked together to develop, with pictures of the property, with stories about the residents and actual ways to humanize those residents, I think people will see that these residents are a lot like they are. They just
hardworking,
need a little
normal
help.
people.
That's right.
Yes.
So if you can kind of eliminate those unknowns a little bit and just educate people and build that trust, I think people are reasonable and they will come around.
Well, and help the community understand that everybody deserves safe, affordable, decent housing. And I think sometimes that people, they don't mean to forget, but I think they do. And they don't understand that everybody deserves that. It doesn't matter if you're working at McDonald's, teachers, policemen, everybody. We all, me, you, we're all just decent people that deserve decent housing.
And there is a stigma associated with public housing.
Sure.
I mean, we got to be honest. That's kind of the elephant in the room.
Well,
It's-
public
it's-
housing is different also than affordable housing.
True, but they are starting to blend a
Exactly.
little bit. And that stigma is based on some history that's
Yes.
there, but it is changing. And I think it's important to try to educate about that as well.
Well, and especially like what we mentioned with the mixed income. It is not just like the old tenement housing that you're thinking of, it's old rundown little blocks that, only the very lowest of the low income people were in. I mean, some of these projects, let's face it, they are beautiful. Pinellas Heights, Bayside Court, these are beautiful, beautiful projects. We have people at various income levels paying various amounts, and you cannot tell the difference between one unit and the next.
That's an important point.
Yes.
When we talk about 20% of the units being set aside as affordable and 80% being market rate or workforce, they're not built differently.
No.
I mean, those percentages float around based on availability, and one unit is just like the next. So it's indistinguishable. That's the whole point. If you have mixed income levels, it's not supposed to be obvious
Yes.
or evident
Yes.
which families or which seniors are which and which units are which. So it's a great point, Carmen.
Well, I think, too, that, Debbie, you had mentioned earlier about the management of some of the communities that you all are building. Talk to us a little bit about what goes into the good management aspects.
Screening of residents is critically important.
And what are you screening for?
Background screening, prior rental history, not necessarily credit, because a lot of times lower income families will have an issue with credit, but primarily criminal history, drug-related activity, violent criminal activity, anyone who has a sexual predator or sexual criminal activity, those we screen out.
And then you also, I believe, do a monitoring of those communities as well.
Absolutely. That's an ongoing process. Everybody signs a lease. Everybody has house rules that they must follow. Management is on site in each of the communities and assures that the lease is maintained. There are unit inspections that occur to assure that the units are well maintained. And people who do not abide by their lease are either evicted or their lease is not renewed.
And Carmen, I know that you have previously done monitoring in your previous life.
Yes.
With the county. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I found it very interesting, the different projects I was in. Some of the projects I would go into, the people were so proud of their units and they were excited that we were there because they wanted. A lot of the people the places I monitored, these were people that were step-up homeless coming up through step-up projects, finally got self-sufficient enough to have their own apartment, and they were proud of it. So they wanted, come in and see how I've decorated, come in and see how I've cleaned it. I also went into some where they were having problems with the tenants, and that's part of the reason why we were there, was we wanted to help them enforce the rules. We go in and the units were dirty. There was, they had abused the units, holes in the wall. I talked to maintenance about making sure they got the holes fixed. Because we didn't want people having dirty their unit being dirty and unhealthy and causing unhealthy conditions for those around them either. And that's where the management companies come in, frankly, because that is really what they are supposed to do, is to manage this on a day-to-day basis. If one neighbor complains about another saying there's cockroaches running out of their unit, management companies should be addressing that. And in the projects that are well managed, they deal with this. And we don't have problems with. There's some that were struggling, and they had to change the way they were doing things and looking at things and dealing with their tenants. Some of them were afraid of their tenants. And I said, well, we can't have that. I mean, this is for everybody, and you can't have one person right for everybody. But it really was amazing how many people were just so proud that they were able to get into beautiful units. And I'm not talking, the granite kitchen top, some fancy dancy thing. I'm talking just decent, safe, nice communities. The grounds were well maintained. A lot of these communities I would love to live in. There's pools, there's clubhouses, they have educational rooms with computers in them. They're just incredible. And I think that's what people need to realize, that these communities, everybody would be proud to live in.
Carmen, it's a great point you make about maintenance. We have partnered together, Pinellas County Housing Authority and North Star, to build some beautiful communities. But North Star also has a management company, and one of our critical things we look at is the maintenance. Because if you've got a nice facility and nice grounds and nice amenities, that's great when you move in. But if they start breaking down and the deferred maintenance starts piling up, people don't have that pride or that dignity element anymore, and they're not going to take care of their own place either. So it's incredibly important to stay on top of that and make sure that you've got your capital reserves built up to address things as they happen, so that you can keep that dignity and that quality level up.
It really is.
Because that's
critical.
Really the key.
It really is. I've seen this even in other states where I've been and visited. Toured a facility down in Texas. Couldn't believe that it was almost 20 years old. It was just immaculate, gorgeous. The people there were clearly proud to be living in this. You never would have guessed it was that old, because everything was so clean and well maintained. The grounds, the units, the buildings. It was awesome, and I see that around here too.
Yes.
And that
Absolutely.
is what I think. That part of that misconception for people is everywhere you look, there are still some of the older stuff, but this is the stuff that all of us are partnering with to change and remodel and upgrade. And so they're just seeing the old, and they're not realizing that what's replacing it is affordable workforce housing.
Right.
It's these mixed income communities. When you go in and you rehab a place, you're adding amenities to it.
Yes.
And I think the point really should be made that this kind of housing is important to provide in communities, because you never know when your circumstance may change. We all saw what happened in the housing industry, our real estate collapse just a few years ago. And people were losing jobs, they were losing housing. And, these were individuals that had very good positions in very lovely homes and found themselves suddenly in a whole new economic environment. And this is oftentimes where you all come in and are able to provide the housing that they're going to need.
That's very true, Jane. And also, if we think about it and we think about the Pinellas County economy and the tourism industry that we depend on, we need a place for people who work in that industry, the people who cook the meals and clean the rooms, take care of the grounds. We need a place here that they can live and they can afford.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, I think as we discussed before the show started, there's just no way they can afford to live outside of Pinellas County and travel here. It's just too expensive. We need these people here to promote our all-around economy, so we need to make sure they have that safe, decent, affordable housing also.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So
Agreed.
I'm curious about how you all determine which communities you're going to build in and how that whole process works.
As we've talked about here today, we need affordable housing for all segments of our population, for young, middle-aged, old. So really, in Pinellas County, with the scarcity of available land and the higher land cost, we look at where the opportunity is, and we're always looking for a new opportunity to develop, to acquire, and renovate. So that basically, wherever that opportunity is, we need family housing. We need senior housing. Baby boomers are getting older. The senior population is climbing. It will continue to climb. So basically, that's the answer. Wherever that opportunity is, we're ready to go for it.
And the fact that, given that there are so many of us baby boomers,
I wasn't going to say that.
I admit it.
Me
All right,
neither.
I'll admit it. I'll admit it. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, at a certain point, when if you're fortunate to retire, your income level is certainly going to be different, and you may not have the wherewithal to remain in the home that you're in, or you may have some physical issues that you need a little additional assistance, and that's when
Or health issues.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And so communities like Pinellas Heights is a wonderful example of individuals that may need to do a transition into something a little bit different. And I understand you've got a waiting list
We
at
do.
Pinellas Heights even.
We do. All of our properties now. Pinellas Heights is about 180 elderly that are on the waiting list.
Amazing.
And landings across Bayou is almost 300.
Wow.
Well, Brian, I'm curious about, for you all, being a great partner with the County Housing Authority,
Right.
how do you all determine which projects you are going to work with them on?
Well, it does depend on our partner to some extent. In Pinellas County, Debbie and her team are blessed by being part of a county that has a tremendous tax base. And there are resources available here to go out and acquire new properties, based on where the need is or where the opportunities are. That's not always the case in other communities where we partner with housing authorities. And in those cases, yes, there is tremendous demand, and there might be supply, but the resources are somewhat limited. So some of those housing authorities are really kind of forced to just work within their existing property holdings, which may or may not already have public housing or older affordable housing in place. So what we help them do is either renovate or sometimes demolish and rebuild. But it can be difficult to acquire new property and new sites. Thankfully, to fund the capital improvements, there are tax credits out there. But it really depends on the resources. It's simple economics, and in terms of locations, it's really just what makes sense for the area, as Debbie said.
Well, I wish that we had more time to continue this conversation. It's been really great and informative, and thank you so much for joining us today. We never seem to have enough time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you both again.
Thank you all very much, and keep doing what you're doing and doing some wonderful things in the community. I want to thank our guests, Deborah Johnson, Pinellas County Housing Authority, and Brian Evian with North Star Development USA. Thanks so much for listening to us on WRXB 1590 AM and Pinellas County Connection TV. We look forward to having you join us next month. And remember, if you missed any part of this show or would like to view past shows, check out the website or YouTube. I'm Jane Merlin.
And I'm Carmen Lemberg.
Thanks for tuning in. Make it a great day and a great new year.